Buenos and Hafaday. The Committee on Health and Veterans Affairs is now in session. The time is 9:01. It is Thursday, October 16th, 2025. Thank you for joining us today, whether you're here at the Guam Congress Building or watching us online through the YouTube live stream. This morning's hearing is on Bill 192-38, which I introduced along with several of my colleagues. This bill makes changes to how the Office of Veterans Affairs and the Guam Veterans Commission are run, how the Veterans Affairs officer is appointed, what their powers and duties are, how the Veterans Commission is made up, and even how we define who is a veteran under Guam law. Before we begin, just a quick note, public notice of this hearing went out to senators, stakeholders, and the media as required by law. It was also posted on the legislature's website and public notice portal. Copies of the agenda and supporting documents are online, and if anyone here would like a printed copy, please let us know. The video of today's hearing will also be posted online later. I'd like to take a moment to recognize my colleagues from the committee who are here with us today, Senator Sean Gumatautau, as well as Senator Therese Terlahi. Thank you. For my colleagues, just a reminder, each senator will have 5 minutes for questions or comments so that everyone gets a fair chance to participate in today's hearing. If you are here from the public and would like to testify on Bill 192, please have a seat at the table and we will call for testimony. However, before we begin public testimony, I'd like to share a few comments about Bill 192. I'll start by reminding us why we are here: to do better for our veterans. Like so many of you, my father was a veteran, so I've been and seen firsthand both the honor and challenges that come with service. That is why I introduced the earlier version of this legislation, the Veterans Empowerment Act, or Bill 85. But after that bill was introduced, a number of veterans from various organizations came to me upset and concerned. They felt that the original draft didn't fully reflect their voice. And so instead of digging in, I sat down with them and got an earful. But together, we worked on this new measure, Bill 192. It was built on collaboration, compromise, and the goal of strengthening the Guam Veterans Commission and the Office of Veterans Affairs. It was primarily written by veterans for veterans, who I would like to recognize right now for their time and effort for putting this legislation together. And if you are present today, please stand up and be recognized. Roy Gamboa from Got Your 671. Vincent Santiago, 3rd Marine Division Association, Guam Chapter. Chris Turan, American Legion, Mid-Pacific Post 1. Joseph Yatar, Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 668. Timothy Puzan, Guam U.S. Air Force Veterans. Rose Blend, 3rd Marine Division Association, Guam Chapter. Former Senator Tom Atta, American Legion, Mid-Pacific Post 1. Lee Weber Sr., U.S. Navy League. And Mr. Nick Francisco, Military Order of the Purple Heart. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time and effort you put into this bill. Now, I recognize not every veterans group will be happy with every line of this legislation. That is expected. But that is exactly why we are holding this public hearing. This is the place to bring forward your ideas, your disagreements, and your solutions. What we shouldn't, however, spend this time tearing one another down. I want to say this firmly: we are not here to take shots at one another. We have to stop fighting amongst ourselves and start building something stronger together. Our veterans deserve better than division. This bill is not a final product. It is a starting point. And I want to note that a technical error was left out, a section that should have been included. I will be adding that back in as an amendment during the markup. Specifically, I will be amending it to include the definition of a veteran. It will state, a veteran means a person who served in the active military, naval, or air service as was discharged or released there from under conditions other than dishonorable. Veteran included veterans of the Guam Combat Patrol, the United States Insular Force, Philippine Scouts, and the United States Armed Forces. That was in the original bill that was sent to me, so I will be including it in the final version. So again, let us use today's hearing to move forward, not backwards. Let us listen, learn, and refine this bill together. At the end of the day, our goal should be simple: to ensure that the voices of Guam's veterans are respected and that the systems meant to serve them actually work. We will now begin with testimony on Bill 192. I ask that you speak closely into the microphone and begin with identifying yourself. We will start from my right, Mr. McNinch. Senator Tom Atta.
Thank you. Hafaday, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Tom Atta, and I am here to testify in support of Bill 192-38. I am a U.S. Army veteran, and I also serve on the Veterans Commission as a representative of the American Legion Post 1 since February 2025. And in a previous life, I served as the Legislative Oversight Chair or as a member of the Legislative Committee for Veterans Affairs. Today, I will be testifying as a veteran at large, bringing both personal experience and organizational perspective, which have shaped my understanding of the veterans community and the challenges it faces in achieving meaningful recognition and support. My testimony comes in two parts: the necessity of Bill 192-38 and the amendments being proposed, and other technical amendments that should be considered. The establishment of the Guam Veterans Commission. I want to start by giving a brief background on the establishment of the Veterans Commission. It should be noted that the primary sponsor of the two initial pieces of legislation, Public Law 29-09 and Public Law 30-86, which established the commission, was Speaker Frank Blas Jr. 20 years ago, the legislature took deliberate action to establish the Guam Veterans Commission as a direct response to federal statutes that constrain the authority of the Guam Office of Veterans Affairs. During that time, the Office of Veterans Affairs' main role was helping veterans start and submit their disability claims. However, if a veteran wanted to appeal a decision made by the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs about those claims, the process was very limited. Appeals could only be filed through one of 5 federally recognized veteran service organizations. These 5 organizations, known for their long-standing service and advocacy for veterans, include the American Legion, Veterans of Foreign Wars, Military Order of the Purple Heart, the Vietnam Veterans of America, and the Disabled American Veterans. By establishing the Veterans Commission with members selected from the local chapters of these federally recognized veterans organizations, the legislature created a pathway that offers veterans a more immediate and accessible way to pursue appeals and ensures their voices are effectively heard. This can be found in the legislative findings in Public Law 28-46. Over the past 20 years, the Commission has expanded. Its membership now includes local veteran organizations, and it provides a platform for veterans to voice concerns and challenges about the gaps between benefits earned through military service and their delivery. Ideally, the Commission should be the strongest advocate for Guam's veterans and lead efforts to close these gaps. In a landscape filled with competing priorities, this advocacy is essential. Veterans must not wait passively to receive the benefits they've earned. They need to actively voice their concerns to ensure they are heard. The Commission should act as one of the channels for these concerns. Since the Commission acts as a conduit for the voice of the veteran community, it currently lacks the influence needed to be effective. It can and should serve as a valuable resource, offering advice to the Governor and the Veterans Affairs Office on issues affecting veterans' interests, concerns, and challenges. Unfortunately, the current law does not promote a collaborative relationship between the Commission and the Veterans Affairs Office. Although both serve the same constituents, their mission perspectives sometimes differ. As long as the law only requires the Director of the Veterans Affairs Office to consider the Commission's recommendations, their implementation can often be inconsistent. I believe a better approach would be to require the Office of Veterans Affairs, after thorough deliberation, to implement policy-level recommendations proposed by the Commission. This can be achieved without usurping the Governor's authority over the executive branch. Examples, I would like to cite two examples, recent examples, illustrating the need for change. I present two recent examples that illustrate these concerns. These examples highlight the interactions between the Commission and the Office of Veterans Affairs and are not intended to undermine the good faith efforts of GOVA's staff and management. During several Commission meetings, I repeatedly recommended improvements in the reporting of reimbursements from the National Cemetery Administration, aiming for a report that is more informative and actionable. Despite follow-ups, GOVA reminded me of the Commission's advisory role, which is to suggest and recommend rather than prescribe. That aligns with what Section 67103G of the current law states. The GOVA Director only needs to receive and consider Commission recommendations. I believe that should be changed. In 2022, the Office of Veterans Affairs submitted a $14 million grant application to the U.S. National Cemetery Administration to increase burial capacity at the Veterans Cemetery in Pidi and to address flood risks at the Agana Naval Cemetery. The NCA favorably considered the application and issued a grant opportunity to GOVA. This paved the way for final approval of the application, contingent upon the submission of an A&E design, which will serve as the basis for the subsequent construction. However, in February 2025, the Office of Veterans Affairs withdrew from the grant opportunity, opting instead to return and reapply in the next cycle. The unilateral decision to withdraw surprised the Commission, the Legislative Oversight Committee, and the Governor. I argue that if the Commission had been involved in the planning process, the project would have proceeded in the 2025 grant cycle. Legislative changes that I think that are essential to bring about the changes that would improve the situation. I believe that amending 67103G to require the Office of Veterans Affairs Director to implement and not just consider a policy recommendation that has been thoroughly deliberated would help to ensure better representation of veteran interests. This can be achieved while still respecting the Governor's final authority over the delivery of services by government agencies. To ensure the Commission acts as a credible advisor to both the Governor and the Office of Veterans Affairs, representatives to the Commission should be vetted by the Governor's office. This process will help the Governor know who the Commission representatives are, fostering confidence that those selected to represent the veterans community are individuals likely to act in the community's best interests and serve as dependable advisors. Currently, the law does not specify such vetting, leaving the governor unaware of who the commissioners are on the commission. The Office of Veterans Affairs manages many responsibilities, overseeing local laws related to veterans, collaborating with the U.S. Veterans Administration on veteran issues, assisting with claims, and ensuring veterans have a respectful final resting place at the Veterans Cemetery. It's easy for the office to become overwhelmed, jaded, and disconnected from the daily challenges faced by veterans. This is where the Commission's role becomes crucial. An effective Commission should understand veterans' challenges and actively pursue solutions, whether at the local or federal level. The response must be a coordinated effort between the Office of Veterans Affairs and the Commission. Differences in viewpoints will occur, and when we are at a deadlock, the law should clearly state that the Office of Veterans Affairs shall implement and not merely reconsider rational Commission policy recommendations. The Commission acts as a crucial advocate and voice for veterans, closing the gap between expectations and actual service. It should also advise the governor on veterans issues. The proposed amendments will strengthen the Commission's role as a conduit and advocate for veterans' concerns. I have a couple of technical amendments that I hope the committee will consider within Bill 192. I have refrained. There are many other amendments that Chapter 67 could use, but from experience, I found that if we try to come in for a comprehensive reform of a particular chapter, it has a tendency to bog the legislation down, and we want to get at least the fundamental change through the process. One of the changes that I would propose, a technical amendment, is on Section 4, page 5, line 2 of the bill itself. And basically, 67107A3 of Chapter 67 pertains to the who are the approved veteran organizations. Previous public laws clearly required member organizations on the Commission to be registered with the Guam Department of Revenue and Taxation as bona fide non-profit organizations. At some point along the way, the words "and/or" were added, and the words "and/or" could be understood to mean that a local chapter of a national veterans organization does not have to register with the Guam Department of Revenue and Taxation as a 501c organization due to its affiliation with a national organization. In my research, I was unable to find any previous public laws that exempted local chapters of national veteran organizations from needing to register with the Guam DRT. I recommend that all veteran organizations wishing to join the Commission be 501c nonprofit organizations registered with the Guam Department of Revenue and Taxation. Registration with the Guam Revenue and Taxation aims to ensure accountability of nonprofit organizations. And finally, on Section 4, page 6, line 3 of the bill, Section 67B1, Chapter 67, Commission membership terms and conduct of business. The provision should read, to be transmitted to Magalahing, Guam for approval to serve on the Commission. Madam Chair, thank you for this opportunity to speak on this matter and for the introduction of Bill 192-38, and that completes my testimony. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Adam. And again, thank you for your input and your work on Bill 192. I will go with the sign-up sheet for the order of those who will be testifying. I also wanted to recognize Senator and Vice Speaker Tony Atta for being here today. Thank you. Up next, we have Chris Torn.
Thank you, ma'am. My name is Chris Turan. I am the current commander for the American Legion. A little background is I came to Guam in 1977 with the Air Force and retired in 2003 with the Air Force Reserve, the 44th APS, original member there. I'm a class of 1986 UOG graduate in marketing and management. I ran an insurance company for, well, a small insurance broker, shall we say, for about 25 years, and also was the general agent for several life insurance companies. Currently, I mostly work with through the American Legion to help veterans get their benefits. Try to position the Legion as a organization that works with and through other organizations to help folks such as HMI, such as VFW, which I'm also a member as the district quartermaster. I'm a member of VBA 668, and potentially a member of the the U.S. Army Association. Now, I'm here to support this bill, and in my viewpoint, which a lot of these folks are going to talk about the intricacies of the bill, I would like to talk about the overall impact within the veterans organizations. One of the main purposes is to broaden the ability to accept folks or accept other veterans organizations, and to try to help to give the organizations and personnel a better opportunity to speak and have their issues heard. Part of our challenge is that we don't have any formal mechanisms for communication other than posting on government websites. We don't have a website for our commission. We don't even have stationery that we can post that lists all of the members. Part of the reason most people don't know who we are is because inadvertently we have a very, very, very low profile. Okay? We do utilize the governor's office for our meetings. We have to utilize their equipment because we have none of our own. If we decided to have a meeting or was forced to have a meeting in a different location, the best we can do is to hope someone will bring their laptop and to broadcast the meeting out so we can comply. So we do need more funding for equipment. We need access to more locations so that it can be easier and more accessible for folks to come to the meetings, because most of us are disabled. And according to public law, we do have to put out the advertisements, okay? And we have been discussing ways to which we can do it electronically, which will save money and make it easier to get these things out. Currently, I know there have been improvements on the funding issue for the advertisement, okay? But still we have to jump through a lot of hoops in order to get the advertisement out in a timely basis. And if we miss the timeline, then we have to cancel meetings. So I'm just saying that, listen, we are here as a unified body. I look at this move or these changes to this laws as a first step towards bringing together a veterans community to start to work towards improving things for all veterans here on Guam. And the other item I'd like to add is with Senator Atta spoke about being 501Cs. Okay? We also have to include 501c19s, okay, which is the classification for veterans organizations. Okay. That concludes what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Turan. Up next, Mr. Dennis Pauly.
Afade. My name is Dennis Poley. I'm a retired 32-year Navy veteran, and I've been living on Guam since 2012. I am the newest member of the Guam Veterans Commission, having only been appointed in August this year. And I'm here to speak to the proposed changes to the Guam's Veterans Commission as stated in proposed Bill 192, TAC 38. Unfortunately, to me, it's a similar issue to the issue of GMH and the new hospital. If we don't take care of what you have, how do we enforce the new commission? I'm sad I have to address this issue, but I felt obligated to do so. The Veterans Commission has very detailed bylaws that should be enforced, and if need be, amended as needed. Changing the name of the Veteran Commission in its current form will not change the impact of the commission unless the following issues are addressed. The first one is accountability. There does not seem to be any accountability for reports due or strict adherence to the meeting schedule as outlined in the bylaws. Our veterans deserve better. There needs to be some type of knowledge manager that can provide clear and concise information on a dedicated site for review. I spent 3 hours online trying to find any up-to-date information on Veteran Commission's meetings and agendas, and was very disappointed that I could not. And maybe it was user error on my part. Periodicity. The new bill changes the meetings from monthly to quarterly. If we miss a meeting, as we did last month, it could be 6 months before we meet. Our veterans deserve better. I do not think it is a good message to our veteran to let them know their issues are only quarterly concern. Compensation. It has been my understanding there is a consideration to pay certain board members sitting on the board per meeting. It is humbling and an honor to serve on the board in a voluntary capacity and be part of the Veterans Commission. Compensating board members is a waste of taxpayer dollars. That money can be used to help veterans and their families or make improvements to the veterans cemetery. Again, our veterans deserve better. Being in the military is belonging to something bigger than yourself. Just because you retire and the uniform comes off does not mean you lose your calling to serve. The thought of having to pay compensation to board members who should feel honored to be part of the solution is very sad. Lastly is board eligibility. No person who works for the government of Guam should be allowed to run for the elected offices of the Veterans Commission. That would include in its current form the chairman, first vice chairman, second vice chairman, and finance officer. No matter how well-intentioned they may be, the optic is that of political consideration, whether valid or not. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Pauly. Up next, we have Mr. Roy Gamboa.
Good morning, Senators, and thank you very much for this opportunity to speak. Going back, I think it's a good thing to point out about where the Veterans Commission, at least with my involvement, where it has been, how it's progressed through the years, and where we are at today. When the Commission was established, we agree that it was well-intended, and it was at least a platform and a foundation and or a basis to get things moving forward. I'm surprised that it's taken this long to make changes to the law, even though so many years have passed. I recall first trying to attend a Veterans Commission meeting as far back as 2012. In 2012, I was invited to the commission meeting, took time off of work, showed up, and then it was announced there was not enough members to make quorum. And so the meeting was not held. There was another attempt a few months later, showed up, there was quorum, but when it came time to discuss open matters, a veteran basically took almost 30 minutes and went off the rails and so on and so forth and never finished the agenda. And that went on for many years. At times, or at best, I could remember meetings maybe 4 or 5 times, to the point where I felt like not attending whatsoever. When we established our organization in 2019, we had to wait a couple years because of COVID, and then GY 671 applied for membership, and it was a harsh entrance into the commission itself. Excuse the language, but it was after 6 or 7 months of attending Veterans Commission meetings, another member blatantly asked the chairman at the time, "Who the F are these guys?" And thanks to members like Brian Miranda and other individuals there, they were able to speak on our behalf that we were here also trying to help, and they understood what our mission was with GY 671. In the last 5 or 6 years or so, there was a pretty good tempo of meetings. It was very consistent because we were using the digital announcements to post meetings. I don't recall of not meeting quorum. Commission members were in attendance. Meetings progressed with discussing event organizations and how we could assist each other, so on and so forth. But because of the law written the way it was, we understood we were merely an advisory board to the Guam Office of Veterans Affairs and the director. And yes, I do recall in the past multiple requests from the director at that time for reports and so on and so forth, NAF funds, cemetery funds, you name it, and it was summarily brushed off. Getting to the point where we have this bill in front of us, like the senator said, was finally putting teeth to the commission. And I think it's about time, because if you have 10 organizations who represent the vast majority of the veterans on this island, it would be a smart idea to listen to the members of this commission after thorough deliberation, like the senator proposed. We sit there, we discuss what's affecting our veterans, not only in our organization, but listening to veterans at large, listening to veteran family members, having the commission compile, I wouldn't say simplify, but create policy recommendations so that the GOVA director can take action, must take action. I've only been recently the chairman after being appointed as the vice chairman last September, October. And I tell you, it's not easy when you're working with a bunch of alpha males, alpha females, and very strong personalities. I say it's a challenge every meeting. There's a lot of anxiety walking into those meetings because most times we don't know exactly what's going to be brought up, and it can become tense. But people stay in the room, and we push through it. Earlier this year, I put out to the commission that we're rebuilding, we're restructuring. It's going to take not just 1-hour meetings like we used to have in the past. It's going to take time to set up committees, people that can focus on specific items that will affect veterans. For instance, a legislative committee was recommended to be put out there. A policies and a policy committee basically was to look at policy recommendations and so on and so forth. These subcommittees were there to be able to do work simultaneously on behalf of the commission. Now, in putting out that information, there was no hesitation. People continued to come. Our members, the commission members, continued to come and show up in good faith to make sure that what their organizations needed was put out and heard. We recognized that bylaws needed to be updated. We were hopeful that once this bill was introduced and passed, we would use this as a foundation and then further break it down through the bylaws, updating as what Senator Tom Atta recommended, the validation, the vetting process, requiring a more comprehensive application process other than just filling out a document that says, this is who I am. We wanted to ensure that the veteran organizations on this island had the veterans at the forefront and not just organizational goals as a means to engage with other organizations. We've never claimed to be a perfect commission. I applaud everybody for showing up because it is an unpaid honor, basically, to show up in this commission and provide your testimony, your support, and the effort to push through and come to a compromise. As you said, it's not everybody's going to be happy. I don't think we were happy all 20 years if we served in the service. There's days that we're going to argue and not agree on certain terms. But that's where the majority gets to put it on the table, sort it all out, and in the end, work with the GOVA director, work with each other, and get rid of the notion that veterans are too busy fighting amongst each other. I've heard that too many years. And the nonsense, we have to set our prides aside and put the veterans that we represent at the forefront. We know it's not perfect. We know the commission is not perfect. We know the bylaws are not perfect. But that's what we have the subcommittee for, is to sit there, combine bylaws, make recommendations, update them, and move forward from there. Like Senator Tom Matta said, there's additional amendments that could be included. And one of those suggestions is to find a way to allow each organization to be assigned a fully accredited VA representative. And one method that we proposed, or we asked from the Guam Office of Veterans Affairs, was when the trainer does come to Guam, can each of our organization send a representative to that training? And then each organization would be responsible for taking on the task of ensuring that that individual completes the follow-on training, completes the background check, and becomes fully accredited, so that in the future, the argument of we don't have enough accredited reps on this island can be a thing of history. It'll help ease the burden at the Guam Office of Veterans Affairs by at least allowing each of the organizations to have an accredited rep. At a very minimum, start the preparation of the paperwork so that it's at least a certain percentage done when it is finally submitted. Well, let me back up. Once they're fully accredited, they can submit disability claims on behalf of the organizations that are here on the island. So those are things that we want to continue to move forward with. I believe that I've put out to the commission that we should be a body of solutions rather than just sitting there and just arguing, because it's a thing of the past and we have to figure it out moving forward. As the bill stands, it took many hours, many nights of sitting here and sitting in an office and going through it. And there will be arguments that says, well, I wasn't included. Well, that would have taken about a year or two or more for everybody to agree on what was put forward. There can always be amendments introduced. Maybe there was something that we had missed, but as Senator Tom Matta said, the more we try to add into this bill as it stands right now, it's going to delay. And I won't ramble on any further. I'm just here to provide, my support in support of the bill, in support of Bill 192, as it is written, and give the commission its teeth, and give us the time to update our bylaws, set our committees, establish what was proposed over here, better mechanisms of knowledge management, knowledge retention, and perhaps maybe down the road an amendment can come for additional funding somewhere specifically for that web space, knowledge database, where we can always have an archive to revert back to and whatnot, review things that we had discussed. So my name is Roy Gamboa. I'm the president for GY671 and also the current chairman for the Guam Veterans Commission. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gamboa. Since you're at the table, Mr. Brian Miranda.
Is it working? Okay. Thank you, madam. Brian Miranda, 24-year Navy veteran. current commander of VFW Post 2917, prior chairman for the Guam Veterans Commission. I am completely against this bill. I don't know why we have to change a law that's already existing. And the requirement for ethics training. We are all unpaid veterans that over our time in service have had our ethics training. So why did you put ethics training in there? I don't agree with that, but that's my opinion. The other question I have is back in 2018, the bylaws for the Guam Veterans Commission was approved. The only trouble I didn't have was having the stamped copy that I gave to Fred Berdalio. I submitted the bylaws to the commission over 6 months ago. Have that been grouted and done the right way? A lot of people disagreed with the bylaws, but the bylaws were good. And if they need to be changed, then you do a committee for it. I also asked that why the 3 years I ran the Guam Veterans Commission, we didn't miss a meeting. We didn't publish anything, but we supplied an agenda and minutes at every meeting for people that showed up. We did a lot for veterans, and at the time, there was an advisory for the Congresswoman, which anything federal, we stopped it at the meeting, and it would send them to the congressperson so they could do it. They stopped that. So there's no way to get federal stuff up. I quit going to the commission meetings because it's political. It's not about veterans. It became political, and all they care about is their politics. I'm a firm believer now that anybody that works for the Guam should not be the chairman of the commission because they do not have the veterans in their favor. But I'm completely against it. Why are we changing something that's already there? The other thing I'm sad to see that used to happen was the Guam Veterans Affairs Office would give the report of what they did, and they also gave a list of equipment, of the status of every piece of equipment. And why was that? And we were getting it because people on that commission may know somebody that can get equipment fixed for them. But if we don't know what's going on, how can we advise them or anybody else? That's all I have, and I won't take up any more of your time.
Thank you, Mr. Miranda. Rose, you're also on the sign-up sheets. If you'd like to go ahead and testify now.
Thank you. Half day and good morning, Senator Salas Matanane, Madam Chair, and members of the committee, Vice Speaker Tony Atta, Senator Therese Chilai, and Senator Sean Gumatautal. My name is Rose Sharon Indalacio Blen. I am a United States Marine Corps veteran. I served 4 years, and I'm also a retired Sergeant First Class with the Army National Guard. I am part of the Women Veterans Organization here on Guam. I'm currently the secretary for 3rd Marine Division Association, Guam chapter, and I am also a member of the Association of the U.S. Army. My role today was part of the working group. I was basically the scribe when I was participating in the meetings, as you are aware of. My thoughts are just based on myself as a women veteran. On behalf of the Guam Veterans Commission, or I'm going to say the Veterans Working Group, because I was part of the Veterans Working Group, I want to thank you for introducing Bill number 192-308 and for your continued leadership in addressing the needs of Guam's veteran community. The working group shares your commitment to strengthening how we serve our veterans. We believe that a few focused updates to the law governing the Commission and the Office of Veterans Affairs will make a lasting difference by improving collaboration, accountability, and representation. First, As myself or part of the group, we recommended that we establish a process allowing the Commission to provide advice to the Governor when appointing the Director of the Guam Office of Veterans Affairs. This is not about control, it's about collaboration. It ensures that the perspective of veterans is part of the conversation when choosing who leads the office that serves them. Such a partnership will create stronger alignment between policy, programs, and the real needs of our veterans. Second, we support a structure where members are nominated by recognizing veteran organizations and then appointed by the Governor. This provides balance, transparency, and legitimacy, giving us the authority and recognition it needs to effectively advocate for the men and women who have served. For myself as a women veteran, these updates are also essential for inclusivity. Today, women are the fastest growing segment of our veteran population. In 1987, and I say 1987 because that's when I first joined the Marine Corps, we only represented about 10% of the total military. Today, in 2025, we make up nearly 22% of active duty service members. By 2040, women are projected to comprise 18% of all veterans nationwide. This shift means our policies and representation must evolve. A strengthened and inclusive Veterans Commission will ensure that women veterans who have worn the same uniform and carried the same burdens are seen, heard, and supported in the same way as all who have served before them. In closing, I would appreciate, and I do appreciate, this opportunity to participate in this reform effort, which was led by Senator Salas Matanane and our working group and the committee. I believe these proposed adjustments will strengthen how we serve our veterans, fastest cooperation with the Office of Veterans Affairs, and ensure inclusive representation that reflects today's changing military community. Siduous Maasi for your time and your steadfast support of Guam's veterans and their families. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Blend. Mr. Vince Santiago.
Good morning, senators, fellow veterans, and citizens of Guam. My name is Vincent Santiago. I am the son of Joe and Mary Santiago of Moleso. I'm a second-generation Marine. I began my service in the Marine Corps in 1989 and continued for over 31 years. I have served at all levels of command in the Marine Corps and in the joint services. I have served at all levels of command within the Marine Corps, starting at the platoon all the way to 3rd Marine Division. And as we know, the 3rd Marine Division is the division that helped liberate our island. I am proud to say that I was the second Chamorro Marine to serve as a senior enlisted for that division. When I was approaching retirement, I knew that I wanted to return home and serve our island as a veteran. Currently, I serve as the Marine Senior Instructor at Okadu High School, Marine Corps JROTC. Yes, I am employed for the government of Guam. Attempts to devalue a veteran's value to the Commission because that person is an employee of the government of Guam is concerning. Our Constitution and liberties that we as veterans once defended while serving our military services cloth allow all American citizens rights no matter their employer. In serving our island as a veteran, I also serve as the president of 3rd Marine Division Association Guam chapter. I'm also a lifetime member of the Veteran of Foreign Wars, and I'm currently on the Veteran Commission as a second chair. It was at my second meeting that Nick Francisco invited me to a meeting to discuss Bill 8538. And truth be told, I was unaware of Bill 8538 until that time. At the end of that meeting, that Nick Francisco held, I dove into Bill 8538. After reading and rereading the 65 pages of Bill 8538, I couldn't sleep. I was frustrated that concerns about our veterans and their families were receiving assistance were lacking on our island. What concerned me more were the names on Bill 8538 who supported that bill. I spoke with a few of those people and quickly realized that the solution wasn't to go through them, but to bring the presidents and commanders of veteran organizations here on Guam to discuss Bill 8538. We all gathered around a circular table, and those members that showed up were Joseph C. San Nicolas of Dedadu Veterans Organization, Chris Turan, American Legion and VFW, Nick Francisco, Military Order of the Purple Heart, Joe Yatar, Vietnam Veterans of America 668, Scott D. Duenas, Fleet Reserve Affairs 73, Joe A. St. Augustine, 3rd Marine Division Association, Guam Chapter, Joe Muffness, Barragata Veterans, Lee Weber, Navy League, Rose Blend, 3rd Marine Division Association and Guam Women Veterans, Tim Pazan, Air Force Veterans, and myself. As we approached the start time, I leaned over to Uncle Nick and I asked, should we start? He quickly turned to me and said, you got this, Sergeant Major. So I began with my time in the Marine Corps. As I approached my retirement, I realized that I was pretty old in age and I needed to exit the Marine Corps and leave the fighting to the young ones. When I came home, I thought I was going to be on even kill until Uncle Nick turned to me and said, you got this. So I realized quickly that I'm now a private within the organizations again. So thank you, Uncle Nick, for reminding me. I appreciate it. We all agreed that Bill 8538 must not go forward as is. I then requested to meet with Senator Matanane, and within less than 12 hours, I got a reply from her chief of staff saying, please come. The meeting went well. I was accompanied by Rose Blend. To be honest, I didn't know what to expect coming into your office. I thought you were grounded by Bill 8538, but to my surprise and my appreciation, you listened to us. And that said a lot to me, because up to that point, I never met you. I only read this bill and I thought, okay, this is what she's about. But having sat in that room and looking at your body language and looking at the concern on your face, it made me quickly realize that we, as the veterans of Guam, need to be postured to protect and serve each other and not just leave it solely on you. So at the end of that meeting, and within a few days, I called a few people to form a working group. And you already know the names, ma'am, so I won't repeat those. But I will commend Senator Tom Atta. He brought a plethora of knowledge to the table, having been a previous senator, and more importantly, being a veteran during his tenure. So he brought a lot to the table, and there was a lot of us around there. But the thing that I appreciated about that working group was we had one mission, and that was to take care of the veterans and their families. It wasn't a political standpoint. It was nothing about that. It wasn't about who we were in our own veteran organization. It was about us as veterans with the knowledge we had and doing the right thing for the veterans and their families on the island of Guam, both current and future. Because I'll be remiss if I left out those veterans who did 4 years, 6 years in the military, decided to come home and work, be it for the government, be it in the private sector. They decided to come home and work and give back to our island. Those ladies and gentlemen who we consider veterans and welcome into the fold are out there right now earning a living, and allow the fight to be led by us. So we will continue that fight. So Senator, I thank you for introducing 19238. Some may ask, why weren't we part of the working group? I will say it is the wrong question to ask. It should be, how can we best support 19238 for the betterment of all veterans and their families? They may attempt to find gaps and seams in what we put together. Instead, they should take the energy and will to get after the issues and concerns of our fellow veterans and families. How do we, as veterans, continue to be value to our island? I do support Bill 19238, and I do applaud all the senators who signed their name on Bill 19238. The first plan that we know serving in the military, the first plan into action does not survive first contact. Instead, what we rely upon is the training and the know-with-all of all of our personnel within our organization. And that is what we as the Veteran Working Group went out to do. Now, we could have solicited every veteran organization on this island, we could have, but it would have delayed the response, because as far as I was concerned, Senator Matanane introduced 8538. It was already introduced. Time was not on our side. But Senator, you gave us that time. As a matter of fact, I applaud you again for coming to our first meeting. You asked to attend, and you listened to us again. And that took a strong will to do that, because a lot of us were very, very opinionated. And like Roy Gumboa said, a room full of alpha personalities. But you took it with stride and you listened to us again. So when we transmitted our document of the working group, you once again listened to us. You read the document and you asked us questions. You just weren't there to receive, but you asked us questions. I appreciate that. That talks to us, for me, that lets me believe that you are very much interested in the livelihood of all veterans on this island. Thank you for recognizing the need for change, you and the committee. Moving from good to great. Because if we're not getting better, we are definitely getting worse. Thank you to all veterans and their families. May God continue to bless our nation, our island, our veterans and their families, both current and in the future. And as we approach November for the veterans of this island and the month of the veterans, I want to take the time to wish all veterans, both on Guam and abroad, happy Veterans Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Santiago. And also thank you to all the veterans that are with us and the Veterans Working Group. And that first meeting, wow, you guys really gave it to me. But, you know, and I'm glad we had that meeting because, like you said, it helped produce Bill 192. So thank you so much. Mr. McNinch?
Thank you, Senator Sabrina, and thank you, Senators, today. My name is Ron McNinch. I am a 30-year resident of Guam, and I'm on the Guam Department of Education Board, and I'm speaking as a citizen today. And I'm an elected school board member. I just want to mention, back in 2016, when I was before the legislature on an appointment to the Guam School Board, Senator Tom Atta advised me when you're on a public board to speak up and have a voice. And I never forget that. That was very good advice, sir. And I think it's important for all of our boards to be able to speak up and have the voice that they need. And that's a very important part of our process here. When I was 17 years old, I joined the National Guard, later served in the Army Reserves. I first came to Guam in 1991 to help stand up, to help demobilize the 731st MP unit out of Guam, which served very honorably in the first Gulf War. And I agree, God bless Guam and God bless America. I think that we have a lot of good things in our community, and certainly our veterans and our veteran community is a very important part of our community. My testimony today will be just spoken a little bit, but I will write a detailed letter to all of you on some of the things I have to say. I did notice when I was reading this bill, it looks as if, and I could be wrong, and please correct me, Senator, if I'm wrong, 14 senators co-sponsored this bill. Is that how I'm reading this?
That is correct.
And if I don't know, but did one senator didn't sign off on it at all or initial it at all? Who was that? Can I ask, please?
That was Senator Sabina Perez.
Okay, thank you, madam. I apologize. It's hard for me to keep track of all the names here. Thank you very much. I'm a policy specialist. I review laws all the time. And and as part of my academic work, I am an academic at the University of Guam. And there are 4 reasons that policies fail. First, they're not funded. Second, they're not kept on track either by the executive or by their coordinating forces. Fourth, a lot of times, Guam in particular, but other places too, cut and paste laws from other jurisdictions and they become overly complex, or laws are modified in ways that make them overly complex. And so I would like to kindly ask senators, when you cut and paste laws from other jurisdictions or bills from other jurisdictions, please tell us where they're coming from so then we can look at the full legislative history of where they come from, and that gives us a lot better information when we're trying to understand policies that are being proposed. And finally, there are just some laws that should not be on the books at all. And I don't believe that's the case here. I think that this is, having a Veterans Board is a very important law, and having a Veterans Commission is very, very important. I have to say, this particular bill is 9 pages long. I think it could be 2 pages. I think you could have a much more simple format for this particular function, and it would be much easier for everyone to understand. And I do have some general suggestions, if I may, and I'll send these to you also. First, I think that if you have a board, any board, not just this board, if you say that they're going to meet and you're going to tell them to meet a number of times a year, it's good to set the meeting date in the law as much as possible, and then exempt them from the open government law, and that'll save everybody a lot of money. Because right now we have a very antiquated open government law that we've simply applied across the board, and it's very vexing to many boards and commissions here on Guam. And we have the internet now, we have YouTube to show people what's going on at meetings. I would just like to simply kindly request senators to consider updating our very antiquated open government law, and to certainly work on maybe making it easier, particularly for subordinate boards and commissions, ones other than the legislature or major, the big boards, to simply make it a little bit easier, and that would help a lot, and it would save everybody a lot of money. There's no reason at all in this day and age to have a printed newspaper requirement or other paid requirements for media announcements and things like that. On another point, ethics training. I'm a specialist in ethics and public ethics. I'm well published in this area. I don't believe Guam's followed the right path on ethics training. I don't think ethics training is helpful here, and I'm saying this as a person who trains public employees. I think that ethics training is a very costly process that's very symbolic when you can actually have much better internal government type training that's not done through the Ethics Commission itself, because they have an interest in enforcing the ethics laws, but I think the university and GCC could put together virtually free ethics training and ethics certificates that then the public could use, and also members of boards could use. The way we do ethics training, I don't know where that law came from, where it was cut and pasted from. I have no idea. I was afraid to look. But it's simply a set of laws that really don't work very well, and they can be readily updated. We have to have the courage to change laws and update them. That would be my kind suggestion in this regard. Under 6101, under the defining of the veteran issue, I think that definition needs to be worked on a little bit, and I'll give some suggestions on that. Also, I think that I'd like to kindly suggest to the American Legion and to the VFW, please do some more, and also to the other associations, please do some more recruiting. I think you're great organizations. There's ways that we can help build these organizations, because we have a lot of veterans here who are underrepresented or not represented. We have a lot of people with military service who simply do not know they have rights, and these organizations are very, very important to help get these veterans their rights, as well as their family members. On a related note, I hope more veterans run for office. I hope they take over the government, to be frank. You know, I have to say, Guam has many good and wonderful things that go on here that a lot of people don't notice. It's a great place to raise our families and to have a great lifelong friends. We have a different society here that a lot of people don't really understand. And certainly I greatly thank the opportunity today to be able to say a few words on behalf of this bill. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you, Mr. McNinch. I'd like to excuse the first panel. Charlie, you could stay. But if there are any questions, if you could please stick around. Next on the list that were before you, Mr. Hermosa, Johnny Atulai Taitano, if you could, were you planning on testifying? No? Okay. Joe San Augustine? Testify.
Could have Mr. Charlie Hermosa go before me
Okay.
on this.
Okay, I'm still going to call up those that are on the list if they wanted to testify. Mr. Daniel Coker? Mr. Francisco? We have Benny Fernandez? Marlene Fernandez? No, okay. Stanco, will you be testifying? Joe Mofness, will you be testifying? Yes? Yeah, you can come to the table if you plan on testifying on the bill. No? Okay. Vincent Herrera, will you be testifying? Okay, we'll start with you, Mr. Francisco.
Good morning, Madam Chairman, Senator Matanane, Senator Gumatautau, Vice Speaker Toniada, and Senator Tiristiglai. You know, nice to be back at the legislature 2 days in a row to testify. And yesterday's a late public hearing this morning so early. I didn't realize how fast the time goes. When I look at my clock, it's almost 8 o'clock. I go, oh my God, at this 9 o'clock public hearing is not really good. But you know, I'm here to support this bill 192-38. I know that the working group been working a lot of hours late in the afternoon, like 5 o'clock, to do a lot of reviewing on the original bill that create the commission. And I thank Senator Matanane for her help in finalizing everything, because I remember when we visited her office to turn in the final document that from the working body, from the working commission, that he was very, very pleased to review the document and set the public hearing which we're conducting this morning. So I listened to all these other speakers, and I agree with everything for exception of one, that I couldn't believe that, you know, I'm going to hear that, but this is, everybody have their own opinion. But I commend all the speakers that spoken in behalf on supporting this Bill 192. And I also thank Senator, Mr. San Agustin for being here, because this bill got a lot to do with the Veterans Affairs and himself. And I'm so happy when I hear from him that he is supporting this bill. So, not to prolong, I just say I'm very pleased to be here to represent the Military Order of the Purple Heart as their commander and the Vietnam Veteran of America as their president. I've been involved with this commission for the longest time since I could remember. I worked with the different chairmen of the commission, and I thank Ray Gamboya for doing a great job trying to get this commission back the way the commission should be. And I thank again all the working committee from the commission and Senator Matanane for everything. So again, Dankulu na si Jesus Maasi, and I'm very honored to be here to support this, and I'll be so happy when I see that this bill is passed, and I hope this is going to happen by Veterans Day. Veterans Day, November 11, is not too far, and I think the whole island of Guam, the veterans will be pleased to see that this bill finally going to give the commission the power and, to work with the governor and the director of government. So again, Dankulu na Jesus Maasi.
Jesus Maasi, Mr. Francisco. Mr. Mofnis, would you like to testify?
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Joe Mofnis. I'm a veteran solicitor, retired CSM, United States Army. Senator Gumatautos, Vice Speaker Tony Ada, and Senator Talay, good morning. I'm here in reference to Bill 192-38 in support of this bill. And the reason why I came here is because I think we're overdue for some changes here. And I thank the working group that met with you in reference to some of the changes that was revised from the previous Bill 8538. The thing about this bill is that I guess it moved forward for the new commission to come up with a new bylaws and start up with that, and let's do a working with the director of the Office of Veterans Affairs. A lot of this problem was generated in the past, and now we're trying to correct all this problem. And again, I thank for the group, especially Senator Tamade and my friend over there, Sergeant Major Santiago, for coming up with all this input that was put out here so that we can better the commission and move on forward. And let's forget about what happened in the past so that we can continue to help our veterans, whether they're coming out from the military or real veterans that has served so many years and so forth. And I'd like to, since we're going into the November timeframe, to honor all the veterans, whether they're gone or still here, to celebrate the Veterans Month in November. And I thank you for this opportunity to hear what I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Mofnis. Mr. Hermosa?
Buenas and a half a day, Madam Chair and members of the legislature. My name is Charlie Hermosa. I'm a combat Marine Corps veteran, speaking today not just for myself, but for the many veterans who feel forgotten and frustrated by the system that's supposed to serve us. I appreciate the intent of Bill 192-38, in part to strengthen the Veterans Commission and give it a clearer role in representing those who serve. But I cannot fully support this bill unless real safeguards are built in to ensure things are actually getting done. Under the proposed setup, the Commission will meet quarterly. That's not enough. If they're only meeting 4 times a year, there must be measurable goals, timelines, and accountability for progress between those meetings. We've seen too many promises fade between sessions, and veterans continue to pay the price. The truth is, the Commission, as it stands today, is ineffective. There is no consistent follow-through, no strong leadership driving results, and no visible outcomes for the men and women who have sacrificed so much. We need new leadership, people who are willing to act, not just meet and talk. I'm asking this body to amend this bill so that it includes, 1, a phased-in plan with clear benchmarks and quarterly reporting to the legislature, a leadership review and restructuring to bring capable, committed individuals on board, and a mandate for transparency and accountability to the veteran community. Madam Chair, our veterans deserve action, not more bureaucracy. Let's fix this before another year passes without any progress. I do also want to say, and the reason why I pointed out the transparency and accountability to the veteran community is because there's a lack of communication between the Commission and all the veterans on island. And maybe I'm not in the know, maybe I'm not in the chat group, maybe I'm missing somewhere where I don't see any communication coming out. But I also do want to leave, and I've posted this on my social media, and I also want to leave a quote, is tactics are for amateurs. Logistics is for professionals. And the reason why I say that is because one of the things that I have seen and that I have spoken to the GOVA director is the fact that he needs things to make things happen. One is personnel. I do want to go on record on saying that we need to revise the pay scales for the folks that are within GOVA, especially in the cemetery. Right now, I'm not going to speak over the director, but I know when I meet with him, in his sincerity, he's going out and trying to find people to work at the cemetery. But the pay scales are not in level. So that's the reason why I say that quote. And in conclusion, just want to say thank you for the opportunity to testify today.
Thank you, Mr. Hermosa. Mr. San Augustine.
Madam Chair and honorable senators, good morning. My name is Jose San Augustine, the director for the Guam Office of Veterans Affairs. I'm here this morning testifying in support of this bill as the director of the Guam Office of Veterans Affairs, but also I'm here as a representative of a retired U.S. military, a U.S. Marine of 30 years in the United States Marine Corps. I want to thank you all for sponsoring and bringing this bill up, but I also want to thank the working group that made this possible. I would like to elaborate that as Mr. Vince Santiago, my great leader, had indicated that I was part of the makeup of this bill. I want to also mind you all that in the meat of the discussion of this bill, I stayed away due to the fact that I do not want to be an influence to their decision. However, the outcome of this bill needs to be polished, right? And hopefully the polishing will be when you'll meet as a whole, if you all could bring those folks in that help you create this bill to just polish it before we put it out for a vote. It's due for change, and change is good. But as I move around during my presentation this morning, I want you all to understand one thing, that like Vince Santiago, I served in the upper echelon of leadership throughout my career. I joined the Marine Corps in 1979, retired in 2009, came back to Guam and became the director of the Department of Correction for 6.5 years as a Marine veteran. You all know my past. For some odd reason, you all continue to see me. And you all continue to see me for one reason. Because my heart is in the people of Guam. My heart is to help this community. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you all to know that I'm struggling to make it happen. I struggle because as a military person of 30 years, I have definitely hard time, influencing my way of doing things in the military to influence it into the civilian community. And I say this because that's the reason why you all continue to see me, because I don't plan to give up. And my counterparts that are leaders of the different veteran organizations don't plan to give up too. And they're the reason why I continue to drive, because they are the root and the leaders that continue to go out there and seek for the veterans that have served our community so that we could continue to help them in one capacity or another. I take pride in what I do. I'm not perfect like many others, but I'll tell you what, I damn work hard. I welcome FOIAs. I welcome anybody to visit my cemetery. I welcome anybody to visit the Guam Office of Veterans Affairs. I welcome anybody who wants information from me to come and see me. I'm more than happy to share that. But ladies and gentlemen, senators, and the people of Guam and those listening, I'm not here to fail. I didn't retire and come home to fail. However, I am having difficulty blending back into the community to influence that my way of doing things in the military just isn't working out here. So with the new body of commissions, there is hope. There is hope, and I gradually was able to bring them in one way or another. And we're gonna make it happen. We didn't retire to come home, or we didn't serve to come home and fail the island. We came back home because we want to be part of the solution. At least me and the larger leaders and those that were up here testifying. So there is no way. I might not be perfect. I stutter a lot, and there's reason behind that. Because I want to make it right, but I'm having a hard time making it right. But the new body within this commission will work together and we'll move forward to make it the best and the most right way that we know it could happen. And I just want to reiterate that the reason why you'll continue to see me, because I don't plan to give up. And I will continue to forge forward to make things happen. My agency is struggling, and that's all the reason why I'm proud to be where I'm at. Like many of the other Marines and other service members that testified up here, our job is to find solutions for the shortfalls that we are dealing with. If you all are able to provide us more funding so that we could hire more people, please do so. But right now, my job is solution based on what I am given. And with the mentorship and the leadership and guidance and the working relationship of this new commission members, we can forge forward, because I never say no. I served in this agency in 17 and 18. And back then, I was giving them all the report, and I was saying, tell me what you want me to do with the funds. And nobody wants to. And the reason behind that, and I thank them all, because they have the trust in me to drive it the way it should be driven. But I cannot be making that decision on my own. That's why there's a body to be able to guide me through and say, Joe, use it for this, or no, don't do this, or this is what we're gonna do. Okay? But I think most of the concerns were brought up amongst the folks that had testified up here before me. We do need to polish some of the things that I would like to probably talk with the members. Is it really the governor that we want to say, yes, that's the organization that we want to be part of the commission? Or should the body as a whole be the one to decide? Because we're the ones with the military background. The governor never joined the military. So is that the body or the organization that we want or should be part of the commission? Okay? And last but not least, guys, I'll tell you, I've been working with this for the longest time, and I hope one of these days there'll be more love within our veterans community, because there's already plenty of hatred out there. So as much as I trust you all, I'm hoping that you all trust me too. And come to me when you think I'm not doing the right thing. Like Charlie said, we could agree to disagree, but let's level it out where your agreement and my disagreement is for the benefit of the veterans and their family and the community. I think I've taken up my 5 minutes. Thank you very much again for your leadership. Thank you to all the co-sponsors. I look forward to hopefully getting the working group into the committee as a whole to polish it before it goes out for a vote, and then we'll go from there and fix it, whatever might be broken.
Thank you, Mr. San Augustine, and I don't plan on giving up either. We're now going to open this up for questioning from my colleagues. Again, there's 5 minutes for each colleague to present their questions. And we'll start with you, Senator Gumatato.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for all the veterans and those interested in veterans issues. Thank you for being here, and thank you, Senator Atta, specifically for your comments today. And I hope you'll stick around. Don't leave, because I have a question for you if you possibly can. But I want to start with this specific question for Joe, and then this is going to help me go to Senator Atta. What specific efforts have been made by the Guam Office of Veterans Affairs and the Guam Veterans Commission within the past 5 years to apply for grants or sub-grants or enter into intra-governmental agreements to provide or expand critical services in Guam for veterans and their families, including but not limited to housing, employment, higher education, and health care? Anyone can answer. If you want to give it a crack, Director, that's fine.
Yeah, too. So for my part, the grants that are available are for the expansion grants that fall under the federal government. There are no grants out there that are directly, where the Guam Office of Veterans Affairs could apply. More so, the grants that are available are for nonprofit organizations. The office as a government does not qualify for many of these grants, if that makes sense.
It does. Roy, you wanted to chime in?
Yes, Senator, thank you for that question. I think you, one of the points was housing. A few years ago, our organization realized that there were a number of homeless veterans that were out there. So we attempted to bring in some temporary housing to assist Guma San Jose, other entities, hotels, motels, whatever. They're almost always at capacity. The SSVF program, the Support Services for Veterans and Families, they do receive a grant and they assist, and that's for temporary housing. What we wanted to do was try to find something a little bit more permanent. About 2 months ago, I met with Senator Sabrina Salas, and she mentioned that the government, and again, I could be wrong here, but the government has in its inventory 70 derelict buildings, or buildings in general. And the question I had asked was, is there a building that our organization, veterans organizations, can refurbish, sign a lease for a long-term period so that we can put the investment into refurbishing them and using them as housing for up to 12 months while the veterans try to get back on their feet. And the plan there was to have a local resident be in charge, set up rules and regs for participants, ensure it's a drug-free, tobacco-free, alcohol-free area. So we, at least on the nonprofit side, have tried to look for avenues. A fellow nonprofit group that started out in Kansas, it's called the Veterans Community Project, and through donations, because they're in the lower 48, they were able to receive large donations to build. Their first project had 49 tiny homes that were built with psychologists and psychiatrists there to advise how to build these homes. But they put the homeless veterans in these units with counseling, social workers. They were able to bring in, through donations, barbers would come every week. People would come and conduct classes and so on and so forth. And it also served as an area where the veterans could provide security, so they would have basically on-the-job training. And after a period of 6 months, the community project would be able to give them a work experience document so that they can go and apply for work and so on and so forth. The 70 derelict buildings, I haven't gotten an answer back to it yet, but we're more than willing to put our time, money, and effort into fixing these buildings up at our cost, or we can go out there and we can get these grants to solve at least that one issue. Right now, I'm working with Togi. Togi is at the GY 671 office right now conducting peer support specialist training so that we can have better counselors, provide counselors out there for veterans that are struggling. We're always open and always looking, but we also understand that it is a competitive grant process, and it does take some funding from us because, at least with our organization, we have to hire a grant writer to perform at the highest level of the federal VA grants. If your grant is not perfect, it's not going to be seen. And so we take that risk of putting money out there to apply for some of these grants, and when we're lucky, we do get them.
Okay, thank you, Roy. Charlie?
Senator, and this is the issue. Your question was directed towards a government agency, and we have a nonprofit speaking about what they're doing to ensure that we're getting homeless vets off the streets. And so if you look at the leadership, the government agency should be leading the way. It shouldn't be a nonprofit.
And that's what I was going to get to. This is what I want to direct this right back to Senator Atta and to the working group. And I got to say that I appreciate this. I support this effort. And so we just finished in the last session, or 2 sessions ago, we just codified the Criminal Justice Automation Commission, which took 32 years to get codified. And I wanted to ask, because I saw that it was removed, but I think to go to Senator Atta's point when he met in his testimony, commission duties and responsibilities were removed, but I would maybe in the markup process to the chair, maybe look at a couple different things to address the things that Charlie had mentioned. How do we, and I'm just going to use this very broad language, how we develop and maintain processes with veterans issues, develop appropriate policies for the implementation of things with GOVA, develop and adopt rules and procedures, if you will, perform all functions to carry out this commission, and to go to Charlie's point, submit a written report 1 year or annually to the Guam legislature and to the governor on the activities and accomplishments. I offer that because, Senator Atta, I think what you were offering today, the definition I think we mentioned earlier, I think that's a good thing, but taking it out, could we put it back in, these duties and responsibilities? Would it make sense? Lawyers produce the CJAC, but could we do that the same with this particular commission?
Yes, I think we can. But before we go further with that, I would like to kind of respond to your question. And I think your question was, you know, has there been any effort to apply for grants to help the veterans community? And I think if we take a look at it a little bit differently, there is a nonprofit organization out there right now who basically through fundraisers, that's how they would fund their efforts. But what they do is they actually conduct boot camps every month in the villages to empower the veterans themselves. So for example, I've been tracking the efforts of, and this is the organization HMI, all right? So during the period January to June, they have conducted a total of 45 boot camps. And during that 6-month period, they assisted a total of 147 veterans, all right? Basically empowering them by teaching them where do you find the information to apply for the benefits that you have earned through military service. So they have assisted during that 6-month period a total of 147 veterans. As a result of these veterans initiating their claims and submitting it, they now on an annual basis combined bring in a total of about $3.9 million a year into the economy, all right? And this is a total of $3.9 million that these veterans are able to use for, you know, to further strengthen their family's economic situation. That in addition to other benefits that comes with, for example, if you have 100% rating, you know, it has allowances that are available for dependents who are still in college, the medical health care. So, you know, that's another twist to instead of, you know, the grants for housing and all that, it's also the effort to empower the veterans to be able to go after the benefits that they have earned.
And that's why I was asking, and it was to tee up this idea of doing the kind of the duties and responsibilities, is because if you think what Joe just asked was, I need help. And so the commission, or at least the way I read the policy, it's to do just that. And just like we just passed the Criminal Justice Automation Commission, across agencies they collaborate, like you will do in your memberships, to help with either policy, rules, maybe getting out different things. You mentioned the cemetery, as I have asked. I'm not going to do that today. But it's the same thing. And I think Madam Chair, I think that when we think of the way commissions have been running, and I use the CJAC, and this has got a great synergy. Charlie, I might disagree in terms of meetings. I think you can do quarterly meetings, but nothing stops the commission from doing like monthly workshops, maybe every other month, get different groups involved to stay active in the community. But I say this for this policy, I'm hoping in the markup, and hope you'll allow, maybe to bring it back in, only because if you get a little bit more focus, and Senator, I hope you're not, hope I'm not, hurting your feelings or anything. I just think that we give it a little bit more direction. I know you're taking it out, putting it back in, but when I was reading the policy, I think that was one of the biggest gaps. I know attorneys wrote the CJAC, but I'm saying that veterans are writing this, and it might make sense to keep it very narrow. Think of the things that you just mentioned, how we can get there. In your testimony, I think we should use that as the reference. And I just wanted to offer that today. Go ahead, and I'm sorry, go ahead.
Good morning, Senator. So thank you for that comment and definitely the question posed to us. And I would say this, right? When we looked at this bill, we were trying not to go more than we needed to. If we addressed it in our bylaws, then it shouldn't be the need to address it in the law. However, though, by looking at it, right, the only way we move from good to great is by identifying that we need to move from good to great. So if we need to put it back into this policy, then we will have a discussion. But the reason why we removed it, because it was in our bylaws, the vet committee, because we looked at that. That was one of the first things we looked at was the bylaws before we looked at 8538. We already started the groundwork
and I don't want to talk about
it.
that bill, but I think about this one. If you think about focus, you wanted to get more help, or you want to get more, I think putting it back in, I don't know, Senator Ada, if you would disagree, but I think putting it back in very simply and smaller may be helpful.
Sure, and definitely understand the reason for it, because once it's written in law, it's in law, and it's not a bylaw. So definitely appreciate that. Now, the other thing I'll mention, right, and Charlie Hermosa mentioned that, it's the veteran organizations that are coming up with these opportunities for veterans and our families. And it's right, because let's be honest, right? Some of these government agencies, they got to go through red tape to achieve their outcome. Some veteran organizations, we may not have to go through that red tape. There may be an easier path for us to achieve. Now, I will say this, right? I commend any organization, vet organization, that is trying to help a veteran or their family. I commend them all, right? Because it's not about patting ourselves on the back, as it is about us as veterans, the many of us who have the will, the desire, and the strength, the passion to continue to look after our fellow veterans. Because when we all retired, at one point in time, we were leaders of our organizations. So all we did, and I won't answer for all of them, but all I did was pivot and continue to take care of my organization as the president. And then now, looking as the senior Marine instructor for Marine Corps JROTC, I'm looking for the future of our island, the future of our nation. So again, right, the scorecard for the goodness. Okay, thank you. Thank you all veteran organizations for doing the right thing and doing it all. But I will also tell you that in today's day and world and social media, all that stuff is out there. So that boot camp, I think that's valuable. I think it's valuable because what you do is you bring it from the World Wide Web and you put it down to kneecap conversations. And I think that's great. And every veteran organization is trying to move out to that end state. The other thing I will say is this. As time goes, people change and leaders change. Just like this vet commission, it's a new commission. The old commission and the old ways of doing business, it's part of the history. We can't change that. But the current commission, we are after it. Hence why we develop this working group. So
Yes,
thank you,
Senator Atta, I don't know if, again, do you think we could do that, the add of the duties and responsibilities back in of the commission?
I think it's worthwhile looking at. I think the most important part is how the recommendations from the commission is handled, right? So a good example, I think, is I know that for the past 50 years, the Office of Veterans Affairs is budgeted to hire veterans service advisors, basically. And these are the people that, and basically, so we budget them, and it's kind of like, you know, build it and they'll come, right? So we fund them, and we wait for the veterans to come in to get, to basically be assisted in fight. Maybe we should change that model and instead be more proactive and go out there and conduct boot camps. Go out there and conduct symposiums like once a year where we bring all the various organizations that can provide assistance to veterans. And you know, so right now, an event like that could run as much as $10,000 for a 3-day event to do that. And right now that's being done through fundraisers. Maybe we should take a look at a model where the Veterans Affairs Office uses some of its budgets to pay for that symposium, uses some of its budgets to go out and conduct boot camps or collaborate with the nonprofit organizations that are doing it, so that the organizations that have been doing it for the past 5 years are not having to spend the time to raise funds, but can then dedicate really their expertise in assisting veterans to empower them.
Yeah, and with that said, Madam Chair, that's what I know I'm running out of time, but I wanted to at least offer that, and I would be happy to offer up any recommendations. I think that by doing so, it kind of will look at the comments made by former Senator Atta to address maybe the concerns of the current GOVA. And I think moving forward, I don't want to make this too cumbersome, but I think that by putting it back in, and very simply, we can almost modernize it like we just did just several sessions ago with another commission in the government. Thank you, Madam Chair, for the time.
Thank you, Senator Gumatauta. We do have another member of the public who would like to provide testimony. Mr. Torres, if you could please speak clearly into the microphone, state your name, and if you're part of any organization.
Yes, hi, Madam Chair. Again, thank you for your service. A lot of veterans, we get the accolades too from our community. Thank you for our service. And I'm here as a veteran myself who just got his claim processed, and I do have an award now. And I just came back from I was here earlier, just went to my appointment, and the service provider said he gets 50% of his customers from veterans as well as local residents. So as Senator Tom Atta said, the veterans and their benefits, tax-free benefits or compensation for disability, is making an impact in the economy today. And your bill here will help move all services forward that the veterans and their families need. I'll go a little bit further with being in the military. We always had regulations and policies ourselves, and it's not a hard task to develop regulations and policies for any organization. You just gotta vet it and make it useful, look and refine your policies. So that's what I believe your bill is for. And I think earlier I heard about communications. Communications is effective when utilized properly. It was the military that made the internet possible. So why not use the hands, the development of the internet through web pages, through social media, and I'll say this, and this is my last comment. AI is here. Artificial intelligence is here. And we need to harness that, especially if you don't have the resources. I predict that AI can have your commission and its members develop policies and push it out to get vetted, and then use AI to go seek the users, the needed users. I envision a world of me, a veteran, who see the services in my metaverse and my community, and I will be well informed of the changes that any organization that wants to help me push along. Yes, we are here. We are your servants as well, as we went out to protect and our freedoms. We are here. We are back here. We are back home. And we appreciate all that you can help us with. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Torres. Senator Terlahi?
Susmasi, Madam Chair. Thank you all for being here and for your testimony. I think it's very important, and for your work on the bill, those who worked on the bill, and for those who have been working for years and years and years for our community. So just a couple of things. I agree with Senator Atta's recommendations for amendments to the bill, so I would support those. I just want to clarify, I guess, some of the premises that are underlying some of these things. So, for example, the Office of Veterans Affairs has a long list of duties not included in this bill because this bill only picks and chooses certain sections to amend. The rest are all in place. And when I look at it, it's such a huge list of things that the Office of Veterans Affairs is supposed to do or mandated to do. And if that was just organized into a reporting format and reported as to what you're mandated to do, what limitations you have by law, and then kind of how many of those you've accomplished during the quarter or the month, that might take an hour, I think. I mean, it's very long. It's that detailed, including, of course, some of these things that they've talked about, the processing of claims. You're actually limited to processing initial claims, it says. And then there's a list of the, which benefits, and then, of course, the registry, and then some of the other more recent statutes that were added on, more duties for your office, and the healthcare assistance, all of these things. I guess I agree that reporting of what is the status of all these things, right? What is the status of your office's ability to accomplish these things would be very helpful. And I think it just kind of, it would be very helpful if that's organized into like a standard reporting form based on changing laws. Whenever it changes, you change, your report form so that it's going to include that also, or not. And then they have an idea of what you're doing, and they might see that you need a plan to go forward as to which ones you're actually going to accomplish in each fiscal year, because I don't know, depending on your funding, if that's even possible, right now. And then that brings me to my other point. So a lot of this bill is the composition of the commission. I have no problem, except that, so the veterans organizations that appoint or pick a member among their organization to serve on this commission, that now has to be approved by the governor. That's different than current. I find that personally, I heard Senator Atta's reasons saying that way they'll be familiar with the governor would be familiar with who's serving on the commission, but I really think, first and foremost, it should be who can represent your organization the best. But this is your recommendation, so that's what we're going to go with, I guess. But that's my concern about that. Like, why would any of us dictate who from your organization should represent your organization, right? And then the biggest part here is we're changing what's supposed to be currently a classified employee of the Office of Veterans Affairs to an unclassified head of the Office of Veterans Affairs. And maybe whoever wants, Senator Adda, can you just reiterate, why do we want to change them to unclassified? Classified was supposed to protect them from political influence. They can't be fired if they don't go against. And right now you're going to be pitted. You're being directed by a governor. You're also being directed by a commission, right? Now this law says the commission will direct you. You must do that. And I think classified, when they do that, was supposed to be protecting from, revolving, these positions being revolved every 4 years, or so that we get somebody to serve for a long time, that they're not subject to political influence. But they did serve at the direction of the governor, and that kept them in very close. That's who you report to, no one else. So the veterans' concerns should go directly to governor. There's no interim, there's no intermediary. They should be addressed immediately. I think that was the underlying purpose. But Senator Adder, if you could just clarify, why do you want unclassified versus classified?
So, Senator, for the longest time, initially the director for the Office of Veterans Affairs was a classified employee. And when you take a look at the pay scale for that position, it was really very low. Now, the change was proposed to really reflect the reality of what has been taking place over the past 20 years. You had special assistants from the governor's office who were sent down there, and you had the likes of former Judge John M. Pinko, Tim Uggan, who's a retired Chief Master Sergeant from the Air Force. I don't know that we could have gotten Director Sanagas.
He was there before, yes.
Well, he's there now.
But he was also there before.
Okay, but I don't know that we would have gotten him at that classified pay scale.
Pay scale.
So it's kind of, I don't know, you get what you pay for. And we would want to put somebody in there who's had some leadership experience, management experience, and I believe, an unclassified employee, then you can basically cherry pick and put that kind of talent in there. So that was really what's been happening over the past several administrations. They've put in heck, we have a hard enough time even hiring cemetery workers, much less, director for Office of Veterans Affairs.
All right, thank you. Anyone else want to weigh in on this classified versus unclassified? Yes, Mr. Sinoxty, Director.
Senators, Tom Adda, thank you for that input. Let me try to make sure I get my thoughts together. So John Opinko was supposedly a retired lieutenant colonel as a judge advocate in the U.S. Air Force, a stellar leader that ran the office before Mr. I forgot his name, Manglonia, that was there for 6 months, and then I took over. So the classified versus the unclassified is the classified. When they're not doing their job, you have to counsel them at least 3 times to make corrective action before you're rid of them. A non-classified, which is in my case, who was appointed by the governor of Guam, who the governor of Guam was voted by the people of Guam, who the governor of Guam should have clear visibility with an entrusted person The same with the body of the commission. That this body, no, it's not show. This body, as a commission and as a director of the Guam Office of Veterans Affairs, could only be as good as the information that they convey to the governor. We could only be as good as we convey to the governor. And like I mentioned to y'all, we struggle to do that. I'll do this job for free. Just put it in law, and I'll do it for free. However, in the interest of law and in the interest of providing service to the community, we have to respect the leader of the land that was voted and decided that this person, through the recommendation of the Veterans Organization leadership, that this person will be appointed to run the agency. I don't need this job. I want the job. And even if I have to do it for free, put it on record. But with that said, if it was a classified person, would that classified person really have the full interest to serve the community, or would it be one of those, well, it's good enough for government of Guam because it's not good enough for me? Hope that makes sense, Mr. Santiago.
All right. This, I believe, just leaves it open to some of the issues we're having in other agencies, and that is like revolving directors. And that's one concern I have that I don't want to see. And we had the public auditor in here yesterday or the other day for 2 bills at least talking to us about why are we putting these people to be unclassified when our Organic Act demands classified, and that those are for protections of, you know, from other influence. Is there, in your research or experience, qualifications for this position? Like, do they have that in writing anywhere?
No. So what happens is, you know, DOA has to put out that announcement to allow applicants to come in and apply for the job. And like Mr. Kamada mentioned earlier, in the past, and you know, when I've taken over in 17 and 18, the same thing that I found out, people don't want the job because of the low salary.
All right. So for the head, they've put there is a qualification set at DOA for the head of this agency?
Yeah, and just to let you know, before Mr. Opinko,
it was classified.
No, I don't think the person was classified, but the person was not even a veteran.
Right.
Even though
so I'm asking you, does DOA have qualifications? Have you worked on any qualifications for this position? Are there any that exist? None?
Senator, you know, so the way I see it is, as long as I'm there, I think doing the work that is expected of the people, right, and is expected of me from the governor, I just take my marching order and move forward.
All right.
But
okay. Well.
So can I just take the topic? I want to go back a little bit, and I apologize, because they did bring up earlier about this boot camp. Okay? The boot camps are good, no doubt about it. But whenever it becomes sitting with the coach, that's when it becomes a problem. When we are sitting down with the applicant or the client or the veteran and assisting them with their claim that involves personal, sensitive information, the only individuals or personnel that are able to provide that help are veteran service reps that are accredited. And there's 5 of them on island, actually 6. So we want to make that clear. While the organization is doing a lot of good stuff, we just want to caution them. And again, there's a law out there that we're waiting for the feds to vote for, to ensure that people that are in violation of providing assistance to a veteran with the exposure of all these sensitive information to be let known that they truly are in violation of law. Okay? And I want to say this because, guys, while we want to do the good thing, we want to make sure, too, that, you know, we don't go up and do an appeal for a veteran because he or she was helped by someone who's not accredited, and now they're taking their compensation back after 10 years. So if I could kindly ask everyone that's helping a veteran out there to make sure that we caution, we show them what needs to be done, where to go, and all this good stuff. But when we sit down and say, this is how much we're getting, and this is how much they've been receiving, it tells me that they have been exposed to that information that they're not supposed to be exposed. That's all I have. Thank you.
Has your office ever promulgated rules and regulations for, there's two things you're authorized to do in your in-office operations and in the health medical assistance? Are there any rules and regulations?
Are we talking about the bill?
Yes. Well, yes. So you're authorized to create rules and regulations because they've talked about bylaws. So that's why I want to get to the bottom of that.
Yes.
Like if you have rules and regulations, they're supposed to be promulgated by the AAA Act that gives a public hearing. Everybody will know what your rules are going to be, and perhaps who gets, taken care of first. I don't know what, but all of that is supposed to. Yeah, you can do rules and regs. So that's another thing for the commission to consider is that the rules and regs as opposed to bylaws of your commission, maybe we should put in here authority for the commission itself to adopt rules and regs. Of course, I think they should make recommendations as to the qualifications of this Office of Veterans Affairs Administrative Head, if that is you're going to give your advice in the end. And yeah, I don't know. And then, of course, I'm just very concerned about the rest of the goals. I completely agree. I'm just concerned about an organization's choice being rejected or vetoed. Yes.
Senator, if I can just speak a little bit to that. I think part of the problem fundamentally is that you have the Office of Veterans Affairs, you have the commission, and then, of course, there's the governor, and the Veterans Affairs Office is an entity within the governor's office.
Yes.
And all three are disconnected, right? So, granted, the director for the Office of Veterans Affairs answers to the governor. As it is right now, the Veterans Commission really is not at all connected to the Office of Veterans Affairs. I mean, they can sit there and make recommendations all day long, and as they say in the military, you can, expect to get the response of yes, sir, 2 bags full. And we got to get that connected so that then what happens when a good recommendation comes up, at some point that loggerhead has to be broken, and that's where I'm saying that language of receive and consider, change it to receive and implement duly deliberated policy recommendations.
Yes, absolutely.
And then, the disconnect with the governor's with the governor, who really has this Office of Veterans Affairs within her office, doesn't really know. So who are these guys that are wanting to make policy recommendations as to what the Veterans Affairs Office should do? And I would think if she was aware of who these people are, then she may have a bit of she may have more confidence in taking the time to listen to the advice that they have.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yeah. Otherwise, thank you again.
Okay, thank you. So, Senator, just for clarification, the reason why the word was put in there, and unfortunately he's not here, is Mr. Tim approved Puzan. The word was used approved in place of appointed by the governor. Mr. Puzan holds a federal position within the federal government, as I understand it, and swearing to an oath, whatever it would be, a conflict of interest for his position. And so we chose to use the word approved, but make no mistake, it starts with the Veteran Commission organizations, the memberships first. So the organizations are the ones responsible for putting those names on who is going to best represent my organization, who's going to best represent 3rd Marine Division, and so on and so forth. So the way we see it is, as it stands, as it's pushed forward, who is the governor to argue with what we want to see or who we want to see on that commission? But it was merely a word change. And when you look at everything and you peel everything back, a lot of it came to changing one word. And hours after discussing it, changing it from recommendation to implement started this big change or revision. And the other point that I was going to try to get to was the law doesn't have to dictate every single thing, because if you look at the way the law is written right now, we're supposed to have meetings on the first Tuesday of every month or whatever the heck it was at a specific time. The minimum number of required meetings would be the 4, right? But that also gives some time with the in-between months for the legislative committee to do research, make recommendations, develop, write certain things down, bylaws to be recommended, change, so on, establish a communications committee to sit there, do their work and all that stuff, so that by the time we meet at that quarterly basis, all of that information is there and there's meat and potatoes, as opposed to, well, we talked about this last month and we talked about this 2 months ago. Likewise, there is a huge part that was in the previous bill that was removed, and that was the opportunity to address grievances. We're looking at town hall meetings as a way for veterans to be able to come in, have all the membership sit there, we take the grievances, and then each member will be the one to say, this individual brought this grievance to me, we're going to bring it up here. As opposed to spending, we don't want to limit individuals to 2 to 3 minutes to air their grievances. We want them to be able to verbalize it, and that, in my opinion, constitutes a whole separate meeting other than just the commission meeting itself. We have a grievance committee that sits there, records, again, using AI, using the internet. Same thing that we've been doing. We haven't stopped from using the Zoom recordings. We haven't stopped from using the Facebook page if the Zoom is not available. Looking for the communications or the history. Unfortunately, that's where the archives are at right now. Senator Tom Atta shared with us AI tools so that meeting minutes can be extracted, all the audio can be extracted and turned into meeting minutes. And that's usually the snap of a finger. A lot better and a lot faster than having somebody have to sit there and scribe. So hopefully that sheds a little bit light, a little bit more on some of the stuff that we are behind the intent of the way we had drafted this bill.
Thank you. I agree, but except that that's not correct, that was just one word change. Where right now organizations appoint who's going to serve on this commission, this bill changes that appointment must be approved by the governor. That's a big change. So, yeah.
Thank you, Senator
Thank you.
Terlaya. Yeah, you can still address her question.
Senator, just real quick on your point in regards to the progress report and how lengthy it could be. The only thing that I would say is my point was that we need to have a mechanism if we are going to be quarterly, so that you can see exactly what the progress is. The reason why I brought that up is because right now, even with the current commission, they don't have a good track record. So you need to make sure that the mechanism has to be there within 6 months. If nothing is getting done, there has to be something, there has to be action taking place. We can't just wait another year and there's nothing happening.
I agree. I think if the commission sees the list and like all the things they're supposed to be doing and what their report says, kind of like we didn't get to this or whatever, this is minimal progress, but it's going to be very, very clear to the commission. It should be clear right now that they need a plan, like which ones are we going to prioritize, and that's how they advise. Which ones do you prioritize for this fiscal year, for this time in our history, which ones do we prioritize? And then all those reports will be transparent so everybody can be accountable and everybody can look and see what priorities the commission set. Is that what they're doing or not? It's I think it would work, but it just needs a little bit more tight, like a reporting system. And I agree. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Terlahi. Mr. Hermosa, I don't believe you were here earlier because the commission did speak on these quarterly reports. Mr. Gamboa or Mr. Santiago, did you want to clarify some of or address some of the concerns that were raised by Mr. Hermosa regarding these quarterly reports and anything else?
Thank you, Senator. So with regards to quarterly reports, so the meetings went from month to quarterly, right? And to go back to what Roy said, so what just my my time attending the meetings, the first 2 times, all I saw was just a lot of bickering with no action. With the current commission, exactly what Senator Terlahi said was come up with a plan, right? In the military, we call it a POA&M, a plan of action and milestones, right? In order to meet that end state with a timeline. Because right, we can have an opinion, we can have a recommendation, but if you don't put an end date on there, it's just a dream. So that's what this commission is going after. Again, I go back to moving from good to great. In order for us to get to great, first we got to identify with the flaws and the gaps and seams within our own veteran commission, and then we get after it. Now, is time on our side? No, it's not, and we recognize that. But this bill was the first target of opportunity, more importantly, responsibility for us to address. Now we quickly pivot to what we are supposed to be doing as a commission, right? And then move out so that way we can make it transparent to all the veterans and their families, more importantly to you all, right? To render that aid so where we're not struggling, right? To use the words of our director of GOVA, right? So he's not struggling, but I can tell you that there's a lot of us at this table and a lot of us who are not here who are helping him out, right? And we're not looking for pats on the back. We're just at the end state, and I'll say what Tim Pouzon said in one of our meetings, is taking care of the veteran. Now, how we get there, we need exactly what Senator Terlahi said and Senator Gumatato, we got to streamline that so that way when we do our reports, you all can pivot quickly and help us when we do need that help. Thank you.
Well, thank you for everyone that came here to testify on Bill 192. Most especially, I want to thank our veterans who took the time to be here and share their experiences, especially with what's happening with the Veterans Commission and the Guam Office of Veterans Affairs. There's certainly a lot of work that still has to be done. Mr. San Augustine, I visited your office, visited the Veterans Cemetery, and there's certainly a lot that we need to do with regards to securing this federal grant opportunity. And like Mr. Senator Atta said, yes, I was disappointed regarding the pullback of that grant opportunity in February. So I hope there is progress to report when we discuss that issue again, because I do plan on holding another informational briefing in the near future to get updates on where you are with moving out of Anigua. Mr. Francisco, I know you have been very aggressive with trying to get them into that office space in Agana, and hopefully in my discussions with Adelup as well, we can find a home for the Veterans Affairs Office. Again, thank you so much for coming down today. There's still more work that needs to be done on Bill 192, and I look forward to working with my colleagues as well as all of you that are here with us and those that are joining us online. Again, that concludes this public hearing on Bill 192. The Committee on Health and Veterans Affairs hearing is now adjourned. The time is 11:14. Sizu Ismasi.